Hi Aquarius, welcome back to the Astrology 33 channel. This is your April 2026 tarot reading. Thanks to those of you who have liked, viewed, shared, and subscribed to the channel. I appreciate all of that. For those of you new to the channel, as far as what we have from us, it's a 12 card spread, with each of those cards representing a different house of the zodiac. Starting with your sign, Aquarius is the first house, all the way through to Capricorn representing the 12th house. Once we get through all that, we'll pull an oracle card as well for some additional insight. As far as the decks being used, for the main tarot deck, we have the Tarot of the New Vision, and for the oracle deck, we'll be using the Wisdom Oracle. But before we get through all that, we'll actually start the reading off by rolling those astrology dice we have in front of us to get an idea of where your focus should be as far as that goes. Alright, we have 10. So for you guys, your 10th house is Scorpio, and 10th house in general points to career and social status. And I will say, astrologically speaking, there's not much going on in Scorpio in April, but when we get to May 1st, there's actually going to be a full moon in Scorpio, so pretty close. So we'll definitely keep that in mind. We actually see Scorpio energy for your 10th house card as well. Speaking of which, we also see Scorpio here. So yeah, so definitely looks like there's going to be some significant energy going on there, so we'll keep that in mind for sure. And we have Mars. So currently, Mars is in Pisces, which is your second house of possession, self-worth, and finances. And on the 9th of April, it's actually going to move into Aries, which is your third house of communication, short journeys, and siblings. So keep all that in mind as we go through the main spread. So for the first house energy, we have the Ace of Pentacles. So yeah, it's going to just be saying that maybe you might have some ideas flowing to you this month as far as maybe ways you can improve your financial situation, maybe just having discussions with others as well, and that could maybe be the spark that makes this idea come to fruition. But what I always point out with the Ace energies is just keep in mind that there is something that's more in the idea stage, right? We see, looks like the hand emerging from the clouds, so there would have to be action taken to actually bring it to fruition. But at the very least, there's nothing wrong with having some good ideas flowing and then seeing what sticks. Alright, so for your second house energy, we have the Two of Chalices. So this is actually a Cancerian energy here, also usually referred to as the Two of Cups. But if we look at the artwork here, this could just be saying that maybe you'll actually partner up with someone when it comes to finances, right? Given that this can be a financially related house, and we see the Pentacle there. Of course, this could also point to more of a romantic connection too with the cup energy, right? But either way, I feel like this is saying that you're going to feel like you have a nice meeting of the minds with someone when it comes to that area of life. All right, so for the third house of communication, short journeys, and siblings, we have the Knight of Wands. So this is actually a Sagittarius energy here. So to see this come up could just be saying that maybe you're going to be interacting with others from different cultures than your own, right? Or possibly even you might find yourselves with a renewed interest in those areas of life. So that could be something that you're exploring a little bit there. Your third house is Aries, so there's actually going to be plenty of energy moving through there. That could be leading to why you might be feeling a little bit more reinvigorated when it comes to communication. But at the very least, it looks like you will be a little bit more explorative around that area of life this month. All right, for your fourth house energy, we have the Magician. So fourth house in general points to home, roots, and family. So what I'm getting with this more than anything, I feel like this is saying that when you're in your home environment, you might actually find yourselves coming up with some really good ideas. Going back to what we were talking about with the Ace of Pentacles, right? So I feel like this is saying if you feel any stumbling when it comes to your creativity, I feel like this is saying you might want to just withdraw a little bit and just be alone with your own thoughts for a while. And in doing so, I feel like that's going to bring some good ideas to you that you actually will at some point want to communicate to a broader group. But as far as just getting the idea to begin with, seems like your home environment's going to be most conducive to that this month. All right, so for your fifth house, romance, creativity, and children, we have the Empress. So definitely seeing this in the fifth house, one thing I want to point out is, just keep in mind this could point to possible conception. So if that's something that you're not interested in having take place this month, just definitely be on the lookout for that. But for those of you who maybe if you have been trying for a while, that could be more positive news there, right? And also seeing this here, though, I feel like this is saying, again, similar to what I was feeling with the fourth house energy, which is to say that I feel like, you might start to feel ideas flow to you a little bit more. You might feel your creativity starting to be reinvigorated. And it's interesting to see an overlap here, too, because this card has a lot of Venusian energy to it, and Taurus is ruled by Venus, but we've had your ruler, Uranus and Taurus, for quite some time. And as we actually get into Taurus season toward the end of April, Uranus, which is your ruler, like we mentioned, is going to be moving into your fifth house of creativity. So even if you don't feel that spark just yet, as we get a little bit later into April, you might really start to feel that creativity start to surge through you. All right, for your sixth house, which in general points to health, work, and daily routines, we have the Chariot. So this is Cancerian energy here. And yeah, could just be saying that you might feel like things are playing out in a faded way around those areas of life, right? So if it's within your work life, right, you might feel like all of a sudden you might find yourselves on a path that you didn't necessarily plan on, but it seems like it's just moving forward regardless, right? It almost feels like it's out of your control, even though I feel like it's going to be playing out in a positive way. It's just one of those things where you're like, oh, okay, where did this come from? And for some of you, this could be possibly through making connections with others. But I feel like this is saying with all those six house energies, it's going to feel like there's a certain energy of fate underlying all of the things that take place there this month. All right, so for the seventh house, which in general points to partnerships, contracts, and relationships, we have the Knight of Swords. So this is Gemini energy here. So yeah, so to me this says that you might just feel like you really want to move those types of things along rather quickly this month. Now, earlier in the month that might be a little bit trickier, but and well, technically, really as early as the second week of April, it should be a lot easier to pick up momentum in that area of life if you so choose. But yeah, so, and given what we were just talking about with the Uranus energy moving into Gemini later in the month, again, this could be an indicator as we progress through the month, you might start to feel this energy kind of surge up within you where you do want to move things along a little bit faster. But yeah, looks like this is definitely saying that you have confidence and you actually want to see some movement this month. I mean, this is the second night energy that we see in the spread, which usually points to movement. All right. In the eighth house of death, rebirth, intimacy, and investments, we have the King of Pentacles. So this is actually Taurus energy here. So to see this here, I feel like this is saying you have a certain level of stability, right? And maybe with that stability, you've been able to improve your home environment, for example. But this also to me says that usually this is the long game, right? So to me, this is that investments you've made, whether they be actual physical financial investments, right, or just investments of your resources as far as time and energy, right? I think this is saying you're going to see tangible evidence of those things paying off this month. All right, and the ninth house, which in general points to philosophy, higher learning, and foreign affairs, we have the Hermit. So this is Virgo energy here. And to see this popping up here, I mean, for you guys, really, Virgo is more of an eighth house energy. But either way, I feel like this is saying you might have been looking at your beliefs under a microscope recently, right? And figuring out what works for you, what doesn't, right? Have you been led astray in some way? Have you led yourself astray in some ways, right? And really just revisiting those things. And partially, it could be a chicken and the egg argument, right? Did you review that and then that led to you wanting to explore other cultures more? Or was it maybe through exploring other cultures more that's what made you question what your beliefs were? Either way, I feel like this is saying you've gone within to really look at some of those views and have come out better for it on the other side. All right, so for the 10th house, which as we saw with the dice, they definitely seem to be pointing to this as significant as well. But for the 10th house, we have the Death card. So this is the Major Arcana card for Scorpio, which as I mentioned, really not technically in April, but right on May 1st, there will be a full moon in Scorpio. And Scorpio is actually your natural 10th house ruler as well. So to see this here could just be saying that maybe you'll be leaving something behind when it comes to your careers. Now to see the Chariot there and the Two of Cups could just be saying that if you do end something, it's because there's something new right on the heels of it. But either way, I feel like this is saying that there could be some release there, and if so, it could just be maybe just releasing a little bit more of a traditional style of work and doing something a little bit more unconventional, where maybe there's like more of a emotional connection to the work. But overall, it feels like it would be a positive. But yeah, it might just, for some of you, I feel like you might feel like, okay, this was a long time coming. Whereas for others of you, it might feel a little bit more sudden. But I feel like if you look back at it in hindsight, you realize that, okay, yeah, this was probably building up for a while. And that could be why you're feeling that chariot faded energy now. All right, in the 11th house of friendships, groups, hopes, and wishes, we have the 10 of swords. So yeah, Gemini energy here, and to see this come up in this house could just be saying that. So I mean, we could see the connection, right? Like I said, maybe if you leave one type of work environment behind for a new one, then there could be an ending there of the groups that you deal with, right? Because it's like, okay, the groups you were dealing with in this work environment is changing. Now you have a new environment you'll be dealing with. Could be as simple as that. But for others, you could just be saying as well that maybe you're just finding, especially if you have been reevaluating your beliefs, things along those lines there, right? Maybe you're finding that certain groups that you used to feel you meshed with in the past, maybe you're not meshing with them as well now, so you might finally decide to cut some cords there as far as that goes. But obviously, it looks like an ominous, dramatic energy, but there's so many other light energies around it that I feel like this is more or less one of those things that you realize was just time to take place anyway. All right. And in the 12th house, we have the Nine of Swords. So this is more Gemini energy here, but more than anything, this definitely does play out as a bit of a 12th house energy, right? Because in general, 12th house points out to spirituality, blind spots, mental health, and to see this pop up here, it'd just be saying that, yeah, maybe there's been a lot of stress on you recently, right? A lot of decisions you've been weighing over, right? So yeah, it definitely looks like there's some energy shifting around, right? Like we said, some fresh starts, exploring things, looking at your beliefs around certain things. So that could have just been heavy energy that might have started to weigh you down a little bit, right? Maybe you might have been having nightmares that were interrupting your sleep at night, things along those lines there. But yeah, I feel like this is saying that, again, it looks like there was just a reasoning for that cycle. And I feel like for some of you, you're already going to feel like you're out on the other side of that. But if not yet, like we said, especially given that the Scorpio energy was coming through so heavily, that maybe this month here might be the last month that it's all clearing itself out, making room for all the newer, brighter energy that we see here. Speaking of bright energy, bottom of the deck we have the Three of Chalices, so more Cancerian energy here. So yeah, so to me it says at the very least when it comes to your work environment or even just your daily routines, health for that matter, right? Given that those are all sixth house things for you guys, I could just be saying that looks like there's going to be something to celebrate there. So if you have been stressed, right, if you have been feeling overwhelmed, and maybe if just anxiety, things along those lines have been manifesting as physical ailments for you guys, things along those lines there, I feel like this is saying that you'll have some positive news there as far as that goes, and then actually start to feel yourselves wanting to get back out again, right, explore again. So yeah, you could have just gone through a bit of a cycle, a bit of a phase where you were more withdrawn, and now that could be what's coming to an end there, and that's why we might be seeing that death card with all these other ominous looking cards, right? But we'll see what the Oracle card adds to the mix. So, like I said, we're going to pull a card from the Wisdom, excuse me, Wisdom Oracle deck. I'm just going to give this a few shuffles, and then we'll cut the deck and pull a card. Okay, we'll take this card here, get this out of the way, and we'll see what you guys got. All right, we have Mending. There's the artwork, and the number is 52. So interesting energy to see there, right? But we'll see what it says. That definitely seems to be pointing toward rather some of the energy we see there. But we'll see what it says. All right, essential meanings says forgiveness, making amends, healing after arguments. The Oracle's message: each time we are hurt and allow the hurt to pass through us without understanding and integration, we accumulate an unwanted burden. This keeps us chained to the very things we need to heal: the pain, the memories, the echoes of resentment, and the arguments that we rehearse over and over. Now is the time for mending rifts, healing wounds, and letting go of the old hurts in order to reclaim your power. Now is the time to forgive, to release, to make peace, and to make amends to others. Set yourself free. So yeah, definitely an interesting message there, right? Because maybe this is pointing to ultimately saying releasing those things is what's going to be what opens the door for all of these new fresh energies to come into play. All right, the relationship message says you've come to a place where forgiveness is necessary if you're to move forward. Separate or together, you and the other person are still experiencing the effects of a hurt that is impacting everything you do, even if you're not aware of it. The energy needs to clear. What must you do to bridge this gap? Closing your heart is not the answer. You have the power to heal this wound. Ask yourself, what would love do? Only good will come of forgiveness and an honest redress. So yeah, interesting message there as well, right? Because if this is some kind of a residual effect of a romantic connection, right, that possibly had gone sour, maybe that's what this Knight of Swords energy, rather, is pointing to there, as far as wanting to move to clear the air as far as that goes, right? And then seeing the Empress here too looks like it might just, even if you are stressing about that, I feel like this is saying maybe the opportunity for that might come about more naturally anyway, given that we see the Empress in the fifth house. But either way, it looks like you could see some positive momentum around that. And the prosperity message says everyone makes mistakes, especially when you want something very badly. You may come to realize that in chasing after a pretty shiny thing, you lost sight of long-term sustainable prosperity. Sometimes you make choices that look good at first, but ultimately lead to loss or failure. It's time to forgive yourself and others. Don't blame anyone else. You get to start again, wiser and more mature. The journey to true abundance can be bumpy. Make amends to anyone you may have hurt along the way, especially yourself. Forgive those who may have taken advantage of you. Let go and learn from this. You are now that much closer to achieving the kind of prosperity that really fulfills you. Nothing is ever lost or wasted when you view it from this perspective. So yeah, definitely an interesting message there, because like I said, for some of you it sounds like, yeah, maybe there is some mending of connections to continue those connections, and for others of you it's more of like an emotional release, right, and understanding what those past situations taught you as you move forward, and then these more positive connections coming along are going to be that much better off for it. So hope it ever is any of you guys, and we'll wrap up there. All right, bye.